TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about Wagerwire. Wagerwire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at Wagerwire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search Wagerwire and download the app.
And we're back like we never left. It's Dynamics on the Hardwood. As always, I am Live Zone. Unfortunately, today we don't have Mozzie here with us, but we're going to still give you some NBA news because there's a lot going on. We got Golden State Warriors news. We got the Eastern Conference, the Western Conference, the NBA Cup, and a little bit of trade deadline there mixed in as well. So we're going to start it off here talking about the Golden State Warriors. Draymond Green is now officially a backup for the Golden State Warriors. I don't know how other people can look at this other than the Golden State Warriors giving up on the season. I know that sounds crazy because of the position that they're in, but they went from the first seed dropping down to, I'm pretty sure it's the fourth seed, fifth seed, somewhere around there in the last 2 weeks. Draymond Green, obviously one of their key pieces, going onto the bench, same game that he went onto the bench, dropping a triple-double. I don't know if it was to light a fire under Draymond's behind or whatever it was, but Draymond Green is now officially, with Buddy Hield, a backup or a role player. Now, there's one thing that I look at, and that's Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr is going insane with coaching. We saw this with Jason Tatum in the NBA Olympics, or the basketball Olympics, the men's basketball Olympics, where he didn't play Jason Tatum, even though Jason Tatum is one of, if not the best star in the NBA, just came off of a championship, played Derek White and Drew Holiday instead, didn't give Jason the time on the court, and now, then after that, we now have this, where two of your three best players on the Golden State Warriors are now on the bench, and they're contributing the same way that they would be on the starting lineup, on the starting team, on the floor. You're taking away it's like saying in the 90s, Dennis Rodman not doing well, and then putting him on the bench. He goes out and scores almost a triple-double, and then after that, you keep him on the bench after that game. The Bulls never did that. The Bulls made sure that Dennis Rodman was on the floor. The Bulls made sure that Scottie Pippen was on the floor. The Bulls made sure that Michael Jordan was on the floor, and they got a three-peat out of it. So, therefore, I do blame this on coaching with Steve Kerr at the moment. Another thing you got to look at is this shows that Klay leaving the Warriors was the end of that dynasty in Golden State. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Klay going to the Dallas Mavericks ended up hurting the Warriors more than it ended up saving them, which is why they should have signed a guy like Jordan Poole when they had the chance to, which they ended up signing Jordan Poole, but then getting rid of him the year after. And he's doing quite fine in a Washington Wizards jersey. Now, I don't know about you, but that, to me, speaks a lot that, all right, well, plan A didn't work. We had to get rid of Jordan Poole. Plan B didn't work because Klay didn't want to stay. And now we have to deal with Klay Thompson leaving. So we're just going to give up on the season, and we're going to rebuild from there. We're going to get rid of Draymond. We're going to get rid of a contract like Buddy Hield's. It's just it's going to take a year to do it. So they're just going to have to sit the bench. That's what this looks like to me. And for a Golden State Warriors team that is in playoff contention to be doing something like this is wild to me. Wild. So I don't understand the meaning behind the whole thing, but I do think that Klay Thompson not being there hurt the Warriors because now they're giving up on their full team. They're giving up on Buddy Hield. They put him on the bench. They gave up on Draymond Green. They're starting Polemski over these guys. They're starting guys like Kevon Looney instead of these guys that should be role players. When you have two guys that should be stars on your team, and you should be rebranding yourself into another Splash Bro unit, but you just don't want to because it's the coaching staff's option, not yours. That's the thing that just doesn't sit well with me with Steve Kerr, and the fact that I don't know. I just look at it like, was Clay really a big part of this team, the biggest part of this team? Because we know that Steph is there. We know Steph's never leaving. We know that Steph's going to be a starter. But other than that, was Draymond the right option to stay with, or what should have stayed with Clay? What was the options there? This just looks bad on Golden State's end when it comes to coaching, when it comes to playtime, when it comes to the team in general. So for that reason, I'm not agreeing with this. I think that this is a really dumb move when they're in playoff contention to bench one of their best guys in really the crunch time of the season, the middle of the season. We have the NBA Cup. We have everything going on. We're going into the middle of the season, and you want to bench one of your best players. It doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Maybe you guys can comment your way through and try to help me understand this. But from the looks of it, this is a bad move by Steve Kerr. And it really looks like what Steve Kerr is going through is he had too much talent on one team to play with, and now he just doesn't know what to do because he doesn't have that talent anymore. And we know that Steve Kerr is a great coach. We know that that's not the case, but that's the way he's acting in this situation. So I don't really know where to go from there on that. Another thing is, we don't know if it's a player problem or if it's a coaching problem or a staff problem. But from the looks of it, it's not a player problem because Steph and Draymond look like they're on point with each other still. Buddy Hield looks like he can shoot the three. It really just looks like it's a staffing problem where the staff or the coaching system is just not working out the way that they want it to. So now they're rebranding it into what they wanted it to be. And what they wanted it to be is a rebuild mode. That's what we're getting out of the Golden State Warriors. And if we keep on going on this route, the Golden State Warriors that we know and love, the super team, the team that's going to get to the playoffs every year, the team that's going to be a threat in the finals, is not going to be that team anymore. And Clay leaving looks like we saw an end of a dynasty, and that's unfortunate, not just for the NBA, but the fans behind it. So now we're going to head over into the Eastern Conference. We're going to talk about some of the Eastern Conference teams. There's a lot going on. The Hawks are on a tear right now, being ahead of the Milwaukee Bucks and the Miami Heat. If you told me at the beginning of the season that that was going to happen, I would have said you're crazy. The Orlando Magic are the third best team in the Eastern Conference without two of their best stars because their two stars got hurt. One being in the last game, Franz Wagner has the same injury that Paulo Banchero had. So now they're both out indefinitely for the team. So that hurts their team and their play style a little bit. I mean, they're still going to be a gritty offense and a gritty defense. And they're gonna come at you. But I don't think that we see the Orlando Magic stay at the third seed. Now, what I want to talk about is, are the New York Knicks going to step up this season? Now, I'm going to give you some losses here. The Celtics and the Knicks, all right? The Celtics, and the Knicks both lost to the Cavs, both lost to the Hawks, both lost to the Pacers, and then they have 2 losses to Western Conference teams. In the Celtics lost to the Warriors and the Grizzlies, and the Knicks lost to the Mavs and the Rockets. Okay. After that, we have the Knicks losing to the Detroit Pistons. Okay. And then we also have them losing to the Jazz, and we also have them losing to the Bulls. Bad losses on the New York Knicks part. I don't understand how they lose to the Jazz with how loaded their offense is. I mean, you have OG Anunoby, you have Jalen Brunson, you have Karl Anthony Towns, you have Josh Hart, you have Beasley, or not Beasley, oh my God, I have a blank on his name. I'm sorry. But you have a whole team behind you in the New York Knicks system. Sorry, Bridges. Bridges is the name that I wanted. Thank you. And the New York Knicks are not producing the way that they should be because there's no chemistry on the floor. The defense is great, but the offense is not producing the way that it should be. There's no ball movement like there was last year with Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, and Jalen Brunson. It's all one-on-one basketball. It's all ISO basketball. This is what uh the legends and everything were talking about when we were talking about the game is changing, and maybe not for the better. There's a lot more iso ball. There's a lot more step back threes. There's a lot more get out of the way and let me do my thing. There's not more plays. There's not more teamwork. There's not more work ethic in the game. It's all let me do my thing. And that's great. That's great for a guy that's looking for solo stats, such as a guy like Carmelo Anthony that didn't want to chase a ring, or a guy like Allen Iverson that had to carry a team. It's not the recipe for championship basketball. We see the Celtics, right? We see another team, the Cavaliers. At any given point, one of their starting 5 is going to take control of the game, and then after that, another guy is going to step up. For the Celtics, we've seen it a lot with Peyton Pritchard, and we're not seeing that with teams like the Milwaukee Bucks, with the New York Knicks, with the Miami Heat, I mean, we have the Brooklyn Nets as the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference, and that's just not going to get it done in the Eastern Conference, is to just iso ball and have these things. Look at the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic are a team that is based off of team unity, and we see the top 3 seeds, and all 3 of them are based off of team basketball instead of being about 1 or 2 stars or whatever it is. So I don't know about you, but it's who is going to step up? Who wants to play basketball? Who wants to win a championship? Who wants to show up and win these games? It's not about, oh well, Karl Anthony Towns has to get his 30 points a night. It's not like that, and we need to see more team basketball out of these teams that should be up there. Milwaukee Bucks, there's no excuse for them to be that low in the seeding. Another team, the Philadelphia 76ers, no reason for them to be that low in the seeding because they're not playing team basketball. They have no chemistry. They're a great team. It's going to take years for that chemistry to build. And that's why, looking at the Julius Randle trade, I don't know if I would have done it if I was the New York Knicks, because it didn't bring me chemistry, and it didn't bring me championship basketball. It brought me a star out of it. Of course, it sold tickets, but we're not looking at selling tickets. We're looking at winning basketball games and being the best basketball team that we can be. And right now, I don't know if the New York Knicks are at that spot. Yes, we have a lot of basketball to go around, and yes, we have a lot of basketball left in the season, but when are we going to start seeing these Eastern Conference teams be like, all right, well, the Celtics and Cleveland Cavaliers are going crazy right now. We need to do something to stop it. And until then, we're just going to see two teams, two I mean, looking at it like 8, 9 deep teams run the Eastern Conference, and it's not gonna be like the Western Conference where there's 2 games apart of each seed or whatever there is, or 1 game apart of each seed, because the other teams in the Eastern Conference can't catch up to the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics. So there's a lot to talk about with that, team chemistry, team players, coaches, everything like that. We could go on and on and on for days about everything that we were just talking about, but we're not going to do that. We're going to head over to the Western Conference, but before that, we're going to head into a real quick ad, so make sure you stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Yourself a merry little Christmas night. And have yourself a merry little Christmas. Up,
And we're back once again, like we never left. We were just talking about the NBA, and we were talking about the Eastern Conference. Now we're going to head over to the Western Conference and talk about the seeding. Obviously, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder at the number 1 spot in the Western Conference. We have the Dallas Mavericks up there as well. Dallas cannot be forgotten about. Even the Warriors are still up there in the seeding for the NBA playoffs. And it's really just, we have these 1 or 2 games that are in between each other in the Western Conference. We're gonna look at this really quickly if I can get this up here. Yeah, looking at this, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder are in the number 1 spot with 18 wins and 5 losses. We have the Memphis Grizzlies here in second place in the Western Conference, which I did call. If you remember watching us on TCN, I said that the Memphis Grizzlies were going to have a great year because they have a year in them and they have that chemistry, even though some of the players were injured or whatever it was. Then after that, we have the third seed going to the Dallas Mavericks at 16-8. And then it goes down from there. 4 is the Houston Rockets. Nobody saw that coming, really, if you ask me. 15-8. And then we have the Golden State Warriors at 5, 13-9. And the LA Clippers rounding it off at the 6th spot, 14-10. If you ask me, it's really close in the Western Conference. We don't have a powerhouse in the Western Conference the same way that we do in the Eastern Conference. We have the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics that we were just talking about. And who wants to win basketball in the Eastern Conference? We're looking at the Western Conference and saying, whoa, hold up. They're 1 game apart. The Oklahoma City Thunder, I mean, we look at the young core with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander really being that guy for them, and it's hard to not pick them to win games because Shea is averaging a good 26, 27, 28 points a game. Then after that, the Memphis Grizzlies, John Morant, man, when he's on the floor, if he can control his mind, when he's on the floor, he's one hell of a player. I mean, we look at him and we say, hey, we see the glimpses of Derrick Rose. We see the glimpses of the Russell Westbrook when they were, the fastest player in the league and the most athletic point guards in the league. That's what we're seeing from John Morant when he's on the floor. So if he can stay on the floor and stay consistent, I think that this team can run with them. And then we have the Dallas Mavericks, of course. I mean, Dallas Mavericks just lost to the Boston Celtics. Didn't have enough. They weren't ready, in my opinion. Derek Lively was not ready for the likes of Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford, and then Tatum and Jaylen Brown doing his thing. Jaylen Brown really looking like that Kobe mentality type player that we have been looking for, and as fans, and it was just hard to bet against the Boston Celtics that last year. But I think if we're going to see two Western conferences step up, the two teams that I'm looking at are the Dallas Mavericks and the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, we look at the Dallas Mavericks team, they have Luka, they have Kyrie, they have Klay Thompson, obviously, but then they have Lively, then they have PJ Washington, Spencer Dinwiddie, Daniel Gafford. They have a squad. They just need to they need to score the ball. That's the problem with the Dallas Mavericks. And I know that that sounds crazy because they have one of the best scorers in the league in Luka Doncic. But if one guy is scoring the ball, what help does that do for your team in the playoffs? It doesn't help your team at all. So for me, I have to see more out of these other guys. I need to see more out of Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Derek Lively, all these other guys that are on the floor. Luka's doing his thing. Luka's a star. Luka's going to be one of the greatest to ever do it in this generation. But when it comes down to championship basketball, like we said, we talk about team basketball. We talk about team movement. And if your team cannot score the ball, how are you going to win games in the playoffs? It just doesn't make sense. And then after that, we look at the Memphis Grizzlies. We look at John Morant, obviously. We look at Desmond Bane. But they also have Jaren Jackson Jr. They also have Marcus Smart. They also have Zach Edey. They also have Scottie Pippen Jr. They also have Aldama. They also have Luke Kennard. That's also another three-point shooter. These teams run deep, 7, 8 deep players, but they just need to get the job done. The Western Conference is one hell of a conference. It's a hard conference to play in. It's hard to win games when the playoff system is one by one by one by one. You're only one game off, and it's a lot harder than the Eastern Conference. We talk about how easy the East can be, how easy the Eastern Conference is, and we talk about how hard the Western Conference is and how much they how the competition that they play. Everybody wants to go to the West. Everybody wants to be in the sunsets. Everybody wants to be in the hot weather. The Western Conference is where the best basketball is, unless you're the Boston Celtics. And that's what we got to see. If we're going to see two teams step up to play with the two powerhouses like the Boston Celtics and like the Cleveland Cavaliers, we need to start seeing improvements on team play. And that starts, I think, with these two teams. These two teams are really the two teams that I see doing it. And we can talk about the Warriors. We can talk about OKC, but OKC, they're very young. I think that's going to be a few more years. Same with the Houston Rockets. It's just one of those things that's very hard to be like, yeah, that makes sense. That team can beat the Boston Celtics. That team can beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. And when I look at teams in the Western Conference, the two teams that I see that are loaded up perfectly are the Dallas Mavericks and the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm going to give you my predictions for the NBA Cup games. The NBA Cup is here. We are in the first round of the playoffs of the NBA Cup. If you're a fan of the NBA Cup, this one is for you. I personally don't see the difference between the NBA Cup and the regular season, but there are some teams that do, and we're going to start right here talking about the Milwaukee Bucks going against the Orlando Magic. Now, listen, if the Orlando Magic had Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner, I would be taking the Orlando Magic every single day of the week. The Orlando Magic are very talented. They belong in that third place in the Eastern Conference when their two stars are there. This team is going to be dangerous in the future, and nobody is really looking at the Orlando Magic as a threat. Paulo Banchero, I've been saying it since his rookie year. Paulo Banchero is that guy. He is a killer. He will feed off of whatever you give him. You want him to post up on you, he's going to post up on you. You're going to give him a mid-range, he's going to shoot it. You're going to give him a three-point shot, he's going to shoot it. He's that guy. He's not Jason Tatum guy. Jason Tatum is at the peak of his game right now, but when it comes to a rookie or a second-year player, Paolo Banchero is really the best we got right now, and he's going to be a star in the NBA for the foreseeable future. Maybe not on the Orlando Magic, but we shall see how that goes. I'm going with the Milwaukee Bucks here, though. They need a win. Doc Rivers needs to prove himself. Giannis needs to get his head wherever it's at, and they need to start playing good basketball. Damian Lillard needs to start doing his thing. Brook Lopez needs to start shooting those threes more. Chris Middleton just came back. We need to start seeing a little bit more from him than we did in his debut game. Everything's going to be fine in Milwaukee as long as they can contribute and as long as they can win games. And this is where I think they're going to start winning games. The Milwaukee Bucks, I have taken the Orlando Magic. Then after that, we talk about the Knicks and Hawks. I want to say the Knicks here, but I'm going to take the underdog. I'm going to say the Atlanta Hawks are going to take it. I can't do it. I mean, I love how the New York Knicks play defense. I mean, they have one of the best defenses in the league right now, but their offense is just not connecting the way that they should be. So for that reason, I'm going to take a really hot Atlanta Hawks team. I think that Trae Young is going to get it done. We talked about this last Dynamics on the Hardwood. We said that, listen, this is the NBA championship team. This is the NBA championship games for teams that cannot make the NBA playoffs. We're going to see that with the Atlanta Hawks. I don't think that they're going to miss the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to be a threat in the playoffs. I think they're going to be a 9-10 seed, sneak in like they always do, and they're going to do damage in the first round and then lose in the second. That's what I'm seeing for the Atlanta Hawks. I am taking them, though, to win this game because I think that the New York Knicks need to wake up and they need to be like, all right, well, we just lost in the NBA Cup. Now we have to focus on the NBA championship, and that's what we need to see from this New York Knicks team. Then after that, we have on the Western Conference, we have the Thunder going against the Mavericks. This is where I see the Thunder step up. This is going to be the first thing that the Thunder are going to get. We're not going to be talking about the Thunder going to the NBA championship. We're not going to be talking about the Thunder being a threat in the NBA playoffs because they're going to probably fall off in the NBA playoffs like they did last year. I'm looking at this as this is the championship that the Thunder is going after. They're putting all their chips into the NBA Cup. So for that reason, I have the Thunder going over the Dallas Mavericks. And then lastly, the last game, the Rockets going against the Warriors. I have the Warriors winning this one. Warriors are in shambles and they need to win. They need to do good in this NBA Cup because they know they're not going to get to the NBA championship. And we need to see the best that we can see out of a guy like Steph Curry. So therefore, I have the Warriors taking the game against the Rockets. With that being said, we got one more thing here for you. We're going to be talking about Minnesota. But before that, we are going to head into one more commercial. So stay tuned with us. We're going to be right back. And as always, we'll see you next time.
Jared, hey, we're going to need you to tone it down with the Summer Friday thing, okay?
What are you talking about?
Well, for one, it's not summer anymore.
Oh, really?
Coconut. Also, who is this?
I'm the caddy.
Oh, he's my intern.
Sorry, intern. I'm his intern.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
No golfing in the office, okay? Summer Fridays are over. You can keep the Hawaiian shirt, but the rest of this stuff, all right? Are you grilling?
Oh, yeah. Did you want a burger or a hot dog?
No, grilling in the office.
It's a good point. We should take this outside.
No, that don't. You put that right back down.
Yo, it's all in the hips.
Oh, dude, come on, we gotta go. Let's go.
And we are back, and as always, we are here on Dynamics on the Hardwood, here for you. We're going to be talking about Minnesota. The Minnesota Timberwolves are in a lot of trade talks right now, trying to make a deal by the trade deadline, but it doesn't really make sense to make a trade for the Minnesota Timberwolves right now. They just traded one of their stars away in Karl-Anthony Towns to get Julius Randle. It's really not working out in the way that they want it to. But it really just comes down to, all right, we just traded our second star for another guy. We want another trade in the trade deadline because the dynamic between Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert is not working down low. That's what it comes down to. Okay, so how do we change that? We're going to trade Rudy Gobert, the 3-time defensive player of the year. We're gonna trade Adrian Mike Conley. We're gonna trade Naz Reid. It doesn't make sense to trade if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves. It makes sense to build the chemistry with what you have right now. So during playoffs or maybe next season, you have a team to look at that's like, all right, well, maybe we can make a run at the championship. The same way you did with Karl-Anthony Towns the year before that. It took you how many years to really get what you needed out of Karl-Anthony Towns? It took you how many years to make the playoffs with Anthony Edwards as your star? This is the thing that we talk about when it comes down to team basketball. I know I've been mentioning team basketball again, but it's like a lot of teams forgot what we were really talking about. So in this scenario, you have an aging point guard. You have a center that's not getting any younger. You have a power forward that's in his prime, and you have a shooting guard, a star that's in his prime as well. You need to go into win now mode. You don't go into, all right, well, maybe we can do this, maybe we can do that. No, you put all your chips in and you try to win a championship the same way. I'm going to bring out a team, the Dallas Mavericks, when they beat the Miami Heat in 2000, I want to say 11, or 2013, whatever it was. That's a team that put in all their chips. They said, no, we're not going to trade. We're going to do this our way, and we're going to win this championship for the Dallas Mavericks. I don't know. I think if I was Minnesota, I don't have anything to trade right now, and I need to win now to make my star happy. So I would go out and maybe play the rest of the season, right? Get as far as you can, because you never know. You could get into the NBA Finals, and then down the line in the NBA free agency, sign another star to go along with Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards, and then trade Rudy Gobert for picks. You don't do it in the middle of the season. It doesn't make sense. You're not going to win that way. I don't know. There's a lot going on in the NBA. There's a lot of different things that you could look at. You could look at it one way or the other. But I don't know. I guess this is the way that I see what's going on right now in the NBA. NBA Cup, gonna be fun to watch. They're gonna treat it like the playoffs, even though it isn't. But yeah, so that's really all I got for you guys. Nice little 35 minutes for you. I hope you all are staying live with us. I hope that you guys are having fun. Hopefully we can get you to talk more sports with us in the comments, whatever it is. We got a lot coming to you. We got more extra points, more dynamics on the hardwoods, more live fives, more bets live. We got closing bell over on Jeff's side for ECSI. But yeah, we got a lot coming. I hope you guys like the show. And as always, just remember, stay tuned.